We're at the Okta Gov Identity Summit, produced by CyberScoop. I'm with Phil Fuster, the Vice President for Federal Sales at Proofpoint. It's great to see you. Thanks for joining me today. What are some of the biggest challenges that agencies are still up against as they're trying to transform, modernize their identity management systems, Phil?
I think some of the things that we're seeing at Proofpoint around identity management has to do with not only knowing who an individual is when they first come into the network, but then understanding from the data you're collecting, what are they doing, what's their behavior look like, are they being attacked, what privileges do they have, and then from an identity management perspective, looking at that and trying to understand what isolation, what remediation do I need to do as a cyber operations center for an individual. We bubble up everything at a people-centric, or from a people-centric perspective. So it allows us to take a risk score and see who's introducing the most risk, and then deciding what privileges to give those individuals, what actions to take should they go from being a great employee to a compromised employee, or even worse, a malicious employee, and then how to restrict access based on those three areas and their risk score.
Where do you see government agencies making progress on all of those things, Phil?
I think the Zero Trust framework was a great first step to really drive a commonality or a common language. And that common language is now being used by industry, it's being used by agencies, it's being used by the systems integrators and the VARs. I think that was really key. And what I see happening more often than not is that we use the framework and then it doesn't move forward. So I think that's one of the areas that I see for improvement. And I really do think that identity management has to be more of a living score versus a snapshot or a point in time access credential, because again, certain things can happen to an individual once you let them in, and you have to monitor that and then feed it back to identity management systems like Okta. We have a symbiotic relationship with them and with others like CrowdStrike, where our data kind of goes back and forth to allow for those changes.
You mentioned Zero Trust a moment ago, Phil, and I wonder what the intersection is of the Zero Trust effort the government's undertaking, identity management, as you said, is an important component of that. A lot of these agencies are moving both their applications and their identity management solutions to the cloud. What's the intersection of kind of cloud ID management and Zero Trust?
Absolutely. Multi-cloud is, the new world, right? And your data exists everywhere, and access to that data has to be granted in all those different environments. Being able to, again, assess the risk that's being introduced from one cloud to the next and knowing where all of your data is critical. Being able to track that from a data loss prevention perspective as well is very important, because we find that 95% of the breaches we see are human related, right? They're no longer your network appliance having some kind of an issue. It's people making mistakes, people clicking on something in an email, people leaving their systems open to different vulnerabilities and areas of compromise. And then in this day and age with the Great Resignation, malicious employees getting upset, and we have a lot of cyber advocacy that people try to take on, and being able to track that data and monitor it, no matter where it lives, is key. I mean, we just went through the pandemic, and you see, the government moving to O365, right? That's probably the single largest cloud movement we've seen across the entire government, and that introduces its own level of risk. So I think that's something that has to be watched moving forward.
Phil Fuster of Proofpoint, it's great to see you. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you very much.